I bet everyone saw this one coming. Top 5 Jimbo Fisher replacements. I've got top 5s on Mississippi State and Boise State coming as well. We may move those around based on another suggestion that I got on this today about top 5 things that went wrong at A&M. I'm not sure if I can pin it down to 5 or it's just 5 different versions of the same thing. But I do have those that one ready to go, or at least it's in the thought process right now of getting that one done. Number 5, Chris Klieman at Kansas State. If you want the kind of R.C. Slocum vibe back, I think the closest coach to that, and maybe a little bit in Lance Leipold in that, but schematically they're different. But Chris Klieman to me has that R.C. Slocum vibe to him, in that you're gonna, play powerful, tough, violent football. Your defense is always going to be solid. The wrecking crew, old school A&M stuff. Chris Klieman. I don't think that the coach from Kansas State, as successful as he has been, and not just at Kansas State, at North Dakota State before that, is going to be what they're looking for. But I do think culturally, based on what has been successful at A&M in the past, he is certainly a fit.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see his name on this list.
Yeah.
But, it makes sense for the reasons why you mentioned him. I think he's obviously got a really great thing going on in Manhattan right now. They are set up to win a lot of Big 12 titles and, flirt with the playoff pretty consistently and be one of the better teams in the Big 12 moving forward. But, hey, money talks and situation talks and all that. I don't know. He strikes me as somebody that wouldn't really love all of the politics and a lot of just the kind of messiness of A&M. But then again, if you're going to deal with that and then get like an $80 million check when things don't work out, then, hey, maybe you put up with that for a little while, right?
Yeah.
Money does talk after all. But, yeah, this never even crossed my mind. But A&M could do far worse, and there's not too many guys they could really do better with. So I would think that, you would at least check that box and just reach out and see what the interest level might be, but it almost does feel like he's not good enough for them, even though he's plenty good enough for them, and he's been better than them.
No stone unturned. And this is a guy who knows how to build championship programs.
Yeah.
And North Dakota State
without overextending, by doing it methodically.
Yes, exactly. So, and Kansas State could very well be that. He's still early on at Kansas State, relatively there. Number 4, Jonathan Smith is about to be in a situation where he is not a Power 5 head coach anymore. And in a weird situation. Now, he's at his alma mater, but he's one of the best young coaches in the country. He's put together a really good staff. Now, has he recruited this part of the country really before? No. But as you guys have heard me say before, good coaches are good coaches no matter where their feet are. I really fought it during the whole, Matt Rule thing to not, jump through the phone at some of our callers. We're like, man, this guy doesn't speak Texas. And you're like, he speaks English, right? That's all he needs to do. Believe me, you're probably a Cowboys fan. You love Randy White, right? Yeah. He puts all the boots and the Cowboy stuff on now, but he's from Maryland. You can adapt to places you are. And I think this is, if you want a coach who is on the rise and has not even hit his full potential yet, that could come in and make your program his own, I think you could do a lot worse than Jonathan Smith. Now, this one would be maybe even pushing it a little further out because, again, you've got to appease the fan base, and Oregon State may not be in their realm of worldview.
They have Washington at home this weekend. What a game that's going to be.
Yeah, it's setting up to be a big week for them. There's Pac-12 discussions ongoing. I think, tomorrow there might be, or tomorrow or Wednesday, maybe
tomorrow.
More light shed on what exactly is going to happen with that whole situation. So you say they're not a Power 5, but maybe they are.
Yeah.
We don't know. They're a Power 5 in a group of 2 conference. I don't know how all that's going to work. Or maybe they're not, and maybe they are putting together some renegade schedule and flying by the seat of their pants for the next couple of years. That's got to get cleared up to make this situation make a bit more sense. But, I think the biggest thing here is he going to leave Oregon State at their time of ultimate weakness when he's an Oregon State guy?
Yeah.
That's got to be – the timing matters a lot in these things, right? And that's like with the Dan Campbell thing of why would he leave the Detroit Lions right now, especially when they're on the precipice of maybe having the greatest Lions team of all time to go back to A&M? I think the timing's not right there right now. I think for Jonathan Smith, I don't know if the timing's right to leave Oregon State in this moment of all moments. You know what I mean? But like with the Chris Klieman thing of, you check every box, you turn over every leaf, and he's a hell of a football coach, and he's got them in a really great spot right now, and they've got some very interesting games coming up here to close out the season. So, I think he's a guy that everybody with an opening should at least look into. Now, he is an all West Coast guy. He's only coached on the West Coast. He's from the West Coast and all of that. But it's coaching, so like you say with Matt Rule, you can adapt and go anywhere.
Would he be up for the UCLA
Oh,
job?
yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, look, if UCLA comes open, that might be who they go and grab. Although I know that they like their defensive coordinator a lot as well. Number 3, our good buddy Jeff Traylor. Now, this would be the one where I think you would wonder about how fast can he keep that roster. Now, look, he's already done a great job of recruiting his own roster at UTSA with far less resources and making sure that most of them don't slip into the transfer portal. He's done a great job of that. So he has those skills. Plus, if you want to talk about owning recruiting in Texas, he would totally do that. East Texas, Houston, like he would be able to basically how Howard Schnellenberger set up the state of Miami. I think he could put up as much of a border on East Texas as anybody could.
He would get a chunk out of there, but he's also now, because he was a part of the Texas staff, SMU staff, the Arkansas staff, so he's had some other places he's learned. But he would, he could recruit it, whether it's Waco, Fort Worth, College Station, or anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm just saying of being able to kind of corner a region where you can kind of pepper, because Houston's got to be A&M.
And A&M always used to have a huge pipipeline into that area, and they really have gone more national, which is fine.
And he'll be able to do that with
Bussey from Timpson put up that when he saw the news about Jimbo Fisher. Great player out of Timpson.
Yeah, we'll see. I actually think A&M should be able to retain most of it, because most of it's now a financial decision. But I think Jeff would do, and he might be the overall best choice for this job, but I'm not sure that he will be the choice for the job.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do need to move quickly, though, with that recruiting class and with the portal opening up and just all that's coming with that. I do think they need to move quickly for guys like Terry Bussey and others that are part of that commitment list. But, I mean, he checks all the boxes. I think, the Frank Harris era is about to end after 6 years in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So the timing would be right there as far as, kind of going out the same time as Frank Harris because of the way you guys have been lined up together. I do wonder, has he – I know he'd probably balk at this and bark at this, but, have you kind of tapped out what you're going to be able to do at UTSA? I know you could run it back and win 12 games another year or whatever, but it's how much more are you really going to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At UTSA, he just seems bound for bigger things.
Remember what he said to us about the indoor facility, things like that? How much more can they add to the mix, too?
Well, I know, but I've heard what Matt Rule said about his time at Baylor, and I've heard what, coaches say what they say. I do believe he has a fond love for UTSA, but I don't think.
No, I'm saying is, remember, they don't have one.
Right, yeah. No, I think that also part of it is he's grumbled a lot about certain things they do or do not have, very openly.
And they've given him a lot.
And they've given a lot, but it's still not quite enough for what they would want to do. At A&M, that would not be much of an issue.
It's not going to move as fast. Right. They don't have a black card. A&M has a black card. Yeah,
so he'd be able to do whatever he wants, and so it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Number 2, from the Jimbo staff off to Duke right now and doing one of the best jobs in the entire country. And if he had a healthy quarterback right now, I don't know what Duke's record would be. They have 4 losses. I feel like that's not a fair assessment of how good they have been, especially defensively. But Mike Elko knows the area, recruited the area, he recruited the whole country with Jimbo Fisher. He could come in, and I do think he is not only maintaining the recruiting class, but maintaining Evan Stewart and Connor Wigman and Bryce Foster and guys like that are already on there, and Reuben Owens, guys like that who are already on the roster and will be coming back. Those are the guys you need to also make sure you keep, and so that the next guy can come in. I think Mike Elko can do that.
I saw where one of the receivers is already entered the portal.
Yeah. And that's going to happen no matter what.
And that
could happen no matter what.
Yeah.
But as long as that guy's name is not Evan Stewart, then your head's above water.
There's some people salivating on that name.
Yeah. I'd be more worried about the defensive side, because that's where I feel like they've really got their money makers that have proven themselves already in so many ways, and so he would help out with that immensely. The offensive side, though, you're right. Your Evan Stewarts, your Reuben Owenses, your Connor Wegmans, and all those guys you've gone and got these last few years. Yeah, they're all. I'm sure getting phone calls and text messages and everything else here over the last 24 hours. So he does seem like somebody that could stop the bleeding if there is bleeding. Like, obviously, it's too early to know for sure, but the familiarity, the success already, having gone and done his thing there in Durham for what's it been, a couple years now, and
just 2.
Yeah, just the 2 years. But and like I said, the familiarity and the knowledge of kind of what's already going on there, yeah, he would seem to be a logical candidate and one that would line up really well. But is he the slam dunk? No, I think they're going to look at a lot of different people for sure.
No. And number one, this one to me is the hardest one to get done, but I do think it's, if you want what you really are searching for, I think this is the guy. Young, SEC experience, a proven winner at Oregon, not losing game. Like, he loses close games at Oregon. Like, when they lose close games. They win on the road. They do all these things. Now, I know it's early on, but Dan Lanning knows all the moves to make, can recruit, good to the coaching staff, clearly can navigate at least one big, gigantic donor and do well with that. And before everybody pushes back on me on this, and I agree, like, there's not a reason right now he's going to the Big Ten with Oregon. There's all these new things happening there. Phil Knight, Nike money, blah, blah, blah. They've lost their last 2 head coaches just walking out the door. So this is not necessarily something, and I think Phil Knight is part of this because he does run one of the most successful businesses on planet Earth, in that he knows if someone wants to leave, you let them leave.
Yeah, and they did, and guess what he's done?
Yeah,
he's won.
And so he's won because they know that nothing is this isn't like cobalt where it's a finite resource. This is an infinite resource. If you hire well, you're always going to get good guys. So I do think that this is in the realm of possibility. And remember, Oregon has a partial share for a couple years. A&M doesn't have to worry about that. I don't know. I'm just saying this one makes a lot of sense.
Well,
but
that's the number one
timing
name
is
you
really,
hear.
really rough.
Yeah, that's the one that you've heard the most since yesterday's news, or even before that.
That's a lesson that a lot of teams, Baylor too, needs to learn, is about the handling of those coaches' contracts, and be like, all right, you want to go? All right, we'll go find another guy. That's fine. I mean, and I know that Oregon didn't just put up no fight for their guys, but they didn't the world is ending. We're losing Willie Taggart to Florida State, or Mario's going to Miami. We'll never recover. They've recovered every time. So yeah, I think there's a lesson to be learned there for sure. And not get too over your skis with trying to lock guys down for forever and ever. But yeah, he's the name that's the most widely mentioned. I mean, he's the big time next man up candidate for any major job, and he's already at a major job. Is the Big Ten thing a good or a bad thing in his eyes? I don't know how he views it. He obviously knows the SEC very well. I'm sure he feels like he could go to College Station and win big, but is it enough of a tick up? To make it worth it, to pack your bags and get back up again and go back to the South. I don't know. That's going to be fascinating, though, because he's going to be mentioned quite a bit so long as that job's open, and depending on what other ones open up. And in the future, any other ones that open up, he's going to be the top of those lists, too. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see kind of where his mind is as far as the Ducks and the longevity there.
And to answer Paxton really quick, no, it's not going to be Urban Meyer, and it's not going to be Deion Sanders.
No, I would want it to be Urban, just to sit back and watch everybody lose their freaking mind.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't like to stand on any moral high horses because, we're all flawed human beings. But as a person who grew up in that world, I would not.
Hey.
And this is not going to make them do it, but it would break my heart. It would